tremble and quake with fear at the approach of combat? Hoping to talk your way out of a fight like a human? Or do you hear the cry of the warrior, calling you to battle, calling you to glory like a Klingon?
Hello, everyone. I am Caliph, son of Kolar, and today we discuss one of the best of the 6 original TOS Star Trek movies, The Undiscovered Country. Where do I begin? This is one of my favorite movies, not just because it has the Klingons are prominent in this film, but it has some of the best acting. I remember sitting in a theater listening to Chang riddle off, quote Shakespeare and firing his torpedoes. And yes, William Shatner still had his little bit of his ham moments, but it was one of those films that really got you. It was one of those films that was like, you were like, damn, that was good. That was Star Trek. As you can see, I've decided to go full Klingon like I was. I haven't done this since the convention. It's one of those things now that I think it's kind of appropriate, seeing as how this is the last of the original films that we'll be talking about. And then when we come back, the week of February 22nd, we'll be discussing something new, hopefully something that'll be more engaging as well. So, where do you place this? And Brad, since you are our guest tonight, where do you place Star Trek 6?
It's my number 2. Wrath of Khan is number 1. Star Trek 6 is number 2.
Yes. Marky Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably my number. It's either 2 or 3, because I absolutely love 4 was my number 1. And then I think I like 2 with the Wrath of Khan. So it's probably my 3rd favorite movie in the franchise.
Okay, Vonda?
I'm going to say probably my number 2. I've seen this movie many, many times. It's really, really good. And it's the last movie with the original actors in it. It's good. So I'm going to say 2.
Well, what's your number 1?
I think it really depends on how I feel. I mean, for a long time, I would say 4 until this one probably came out. Sometimes it's probably 2, and then other times I really like 2009.
Oh, okay, all right. I feel you on that one. I love the soundtrack from 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I love that one. All right, Katala.
It's probably one of my favorites because you do hear Klingon being spoken, and as far as the Shakespearean stuff, Christopher Plummer and David Warner were in the Royal Shakespearean Company. William Shatner was an understudy for Plummer in Shakespearean plays. So
your mic is muted.
Calvin, you muted.
Welcome, Taco Cat. All right, so Squadron Leader, your thoughts, your favorites. Is this one of your favorites? Is this in your top 1 or 2?
Actually, this is my 3rd one. Number 1, no doubt, is the Wrath of Khan, but I also like to Search for Spock because we get the famous Doc Brown as a Klingon, and then we get this one.
That's funny you should say that. Did you guys know that John Larroquette reprised his role
Yes, he
as
did.
Maltz on Night Court? I had the honor of seeing him again, and I loved his outfit. He had on an all-black outfit with his sash and everything else. And at the end of the episode, they were talking about New York Comic Con, and he screamed out "Con" like in in Star Trek 2. So that was it. All right, Sai, give me your thoughts.
Okay, so obviously, like everyone else, Rafikon is my favorite. Movie wise, I would have to say this is my number 2, but emotional wise, The Whales beats it at number 2. So it would be my number 3 for my most emotional impact. Me and my mom really love this, and we really bonded over it over the Whale episode. So I would have to say, production wise, actual movie, it is number 2, but for emotional staying power, it would be number 3, if that makes sense to anybody.
I think you're a little biased. You and your mom shared a moment, and now you're dragging that over my Klingon to put it as a number 2 movie or number 3 emotionally. I see.
I agree with him. It's my number 3 as well because I love the Whale movie.
I'm a little shocked at you with some whales, sir. Come on, sir.
I absolutely love that Whale movie. So, yeah.
I love Star Trek 2 only because of the combat. The fact that you find your enemy so many years later and he still has this grudge. Love that. But again, Rob brought up something that I never even thought about. I like Star Trek 3 a lot. Not as much as 6, but a lot because of the fact that we have that interaction, of course, with the Klingons. Again, this is something that really goes into opening up that Klingon thing. We get the compliment of the scout bird of prey. Christopher Lloyd is the Klingon. That dog that's supposed to be a Targ on the bridge. The relationships. We got to see the fact that he kills Valkers. You know what I mean? So when I remember that, it's still not as good as Cry Havoc, Let's Slip the Dogs of War. Spinning around in that chair and I thought that was great. Again, with this movie, we have a chance for peace with the Klingon Empire. Of course, we know why we're getting that peace. Their whole mining moon gets destroyed. And then, of course, we get to see Sulu. Your thoughts on Captain Sulu? Let me go with the dynamic duo.
I'll let you go first.
I don't have a problem with Captain Sulu. I like the idea that he was out in space and knew that Kirk might need him, and just waiting for basically that call. And I'm there for you. We've been on the Enterprise for whatever how many years, and I got your back, and I'm just gonna lie low, waiting, and when you need me, I'm gonna come there and I'm gonna join the fight.
Yeah, I would have to say I do like Captain Sulu. He is just as good a tacticianer as when you look at other things. I think he's as good a tacticianer as Kirk at some point.
Blasphemy.
I love that he actually got promoted, where I thought that was kind of weird that besides Spock, nobody else seemed to have gotten to the point that Sulu got to, and that he was in charge of the Excelsior, which I thought was fantastic. So that was great.
Well, you're only assuming that the other people necessarily wanted to be a captain on their own ship. I mean, that because they were a senior crew and they pretty much been there from, 67. It doesn't mean just because that you are this pioneer group of people on the ship, not everyone is going to be a captain. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I don't think they all should have been captains, but I don't think they would have, at their age, they should have moved on to other things.
Well,
Something.
they wanted to be on the ship. That was the whole purpose of, this movie, basically. They were due to retire, but they haven't retired yet. And you already know that they kind of did their own things. You saw, later on that, Uhura was, teaching at the academy, and, Sulu went and did his thing. And don't just assume that, they're going to be together all the time.
I agree. My only gripe about most of it, when they were on the ship, they seemed old,
Well, they are old.
They were old and set for retirement. And you looked at them, my daughter, when we were watching it yesterday, she was like, they look old up there. And I'm like, I have to agree. I still love the movie. I still love that, like I said, Sulu had his own ship and that he was carrying on. So that was great to see. And I'm impressed with Sulu. So I'll just leave it at that.
But you got to remember, at the beginning of the movie, they were set to retire.
Yeah, I understand they were set to retire, but they, then they, at the end of the movie, they were like, what are your plans, Captain? Stuff like that. They just look old. I still feel like, yes, Sulu became a captain. I would have thought Chekhov would have been a captain as well at this point.
Well, you got to remember too, like Rhonda said, do they really want that responsibility to go to the next level?
Right.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Not only that, but you got to also remember that these are the people that have saved Earth more times than anybody in history. Who is going to retire? Well, you're at the age of retirement. Yeah, I think I'm going to stay on for a little while. Y'all owe me. I mean, this is the crew of the Enterprise. Everybody else that had the name Enterprise, supposedly, wasn't them. You know what I mean? They made Enterprise really famous.
True. And then but even looking at that, because you had Kirk become an admiral, but he never really wanted to give it up. But he took his promotions. So, he didn't have to do all of that. He only came back because he was demoted, not because he wanted to.
No, he wanted to. He wanted to be a captain.
But I'm just saying, but he was demoted to get back to a captain. And then even when you get to the next movie, where was he doing at that point? He retired and then he wanted to get back.
Yeah.
When he was in the Nexus. That was he.
When he was in the Nexus, where he was contemplating what he was doing.
Correct. Was he trying to get back to being a captain again at that point?
Yeah, because he realized that was his best. That he never wanted. Accepting that promotion was a mistake, and he knew that was a mistake.
But
so yeah, I know he said it, but does it mean that was after they was when he retired? So he was going to re-enlist, is what we're saying at that point.
When he was retired, he was wondering where he fit. Kirk can't sit still. He needs to be out there. True. Even to the detriment of his old age, and he shouldn't be out there. He always needs that next big adventure. Okay. And sadly, it's never really there for him because of, like you said, everybody else has moved on. Everybody else doesn't want to keep doing what he's doing. So even when Spock says, only Nixon can go to China, he's like, you should have trusted me. We're due to stand down. This is over. This is it for us. He didn't want that last mission to be a babysitting diplomatic, especially with the Klingons. They killed his boy, and all this other stuff. And, that was not what he wanted. And then he gets everything that he didn't want in spades, And I think that was one of the best things, because when the Klingons came aboard the Enterprise, I kept thinking to myself, I think the last time a Klingon like that was really on the Enterprise was when they took it. Was it
He
Day of
blew it up.
the Dove?
Yeah, when he blew it up, yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you got this, you know, here they are, and they're in their full diplomatic, you know, status, and they're drinking Romulan ale, and you know, all of a sudden the quips start coming out.
Yeah.
And I loved how Chang was able to keep up with him. Oh, I beg your pardon. You know what I mean? I love that about him. You know what I mean? I thought his character was one of the best. Even though we had just had the other guy who played the Chancellor, Gorkin. He was the Earthling that was trying to help find Eden.
Yeah. Well, I have a question about that, but I'll wait. I definitely have a question about that scene, but I'll wait till everybody else finishes.
Okay, so you guys, your thoughts on the Klingons bringing in Christopher Plummer. Brad, you had something you want to say earlier?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the crew of the Enterprise.
Go ahead.
Chekhov already went off on his own, and he was the first officer of the Reliant. So maybe he doesn't want the center chair.
Yeah, it didn't kind of go so well for Mr. Chekhov, did it?
No.
You know, I mean, it was, you know, you also, you know, in the Star Trek 3, remember how that one guy was taunting Uhura, you know, you were this, you were that, and you choose this, you know, you got the choice of any duty station in the fleet. You're a legend. She goes, peace and quiet appeals to me, Lieutenant. You know, I don't know. I've always thought of them kind of going off into the sunset together as they did, but then of course we, you know, get the decommission of the Enterprise, and to really get anything else after that, you kind of got to go again, and I hate to say it, to a book that gives you what happens to Kirk and them, you know, after the fact. You know, they call it the Shatnerverse, where he gives you these set of books that take you back to
bringing back.
Yeah, they take you back where, you know, him and right after in Generations, that whole thing with Generations, right?
Spock goes to visit his grave.
Yeah, Spock goes to visit his grave. You get a little bit more than the whole thing, all the way up until Kirk gets another girlfriend and has a son and all this other crap. It's amazing that, you know. But let me get your thoughts, Rob. Starting with you, what were your thoughts about Chang?
I loved how they portrayed him. They portrayed him as calculating and cruel, just like a Klingon should be.
You're muted.
Brad, I like that answer. I like that answer a lot.
Well, see, Chang
Calculating and cruel.
Yeah, Chang was in the group. He was in the know. So when the Federation and the Klingon Empire were combining together to not have peace, he already knew. So he could be an asshole.
Sai, your thoughts?
I thought Christopher Plummer was the perfect Klingon. I really do. I mean, he was almost like one of the higher noble houses. The way he spoke, the way he acted, he did such a superb job. And just a perfect touch of arrogance to him, too. And the way he was so smart in what he did. And he really respected Kirk. He really did. He saw him as a fellow warrior. And so it was really great. I loved Chang, but of course his arrogance, of course, was his undoing. I really don't think a better actor in a better spot with a better character would be possible in that moment.
Well, you had the Klingon Academy game that led up to the Undiscovered Country, and he
I
talks
love that
about
game.
Kirk. I love that game too. That was really that and that
17 disc.
man. I love that game.
I wanted
It sets you
Couldn't
up,
get it.
bro. It sets you up to where you understand what he does, how he sets things in motion,
Yes.
and how he gets rid of anybody who he feels might be able to stop him or try to talk him out of what he's getting ready to do. Because at the end of it, you're one of his proteges, and he sends you off to find more fuel for the Empire. And he also says we are both going into undiscovered country. And that's how the game ends. And then it picks up here, for the movie. But if you get a chance, you can look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, look it up on YouTube. Somebody did a whole thing where they put all the cutscenes together and made it into a little mini movie. It is good.
It is tight. I'll put it up on the Proud Warriors of Kronos later tonight.
Please.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm telling you, you can sit there and watch. It's a movie. You can sit there and watch that because he talks about Kirk, the whole nine. Katala, your thoughts?
Seeing Chancellor Gorkon and Azatpur was nice. The uniforms were definitely interesting, and the hairstyles that they all had. Chang taught at the Klingon Academy, so he has his virtues, and his vice would probably be his arrogance and pride. But they're all nice to see Klingons as they should be.
I guess you're talking about Discovery, which we will have to do.
We don't talk about that.
Star Trek season 4.
We do not talk about that.
Look, season 4. We've talked it over, and we're going to have to brave into undiscovered country ourselves and check this out. But Commander Xena, you and Marky Mark, your thoughts?
Chang really used his intellect to get what he wanted to be accomplished in that movie. I mean, of course, it didn't work out for him, but it was really interesting to see how it wasn't just physical that sometimes that we see when it comes to Klingons. He sat down, he knew what he wanted to do, and he just used his intellect, to be or not to be, to really get what he wanted to get done. And I think that was just a different way of seeing Klingons. It wasn't just, and we're going to go out and physical and fight. He strategized, which was really good to see.
Yeah, I was going to say, he is amazing. The one thing I do have to say about Star Trek, when they bring in a co-star, they always seem to find somebody top-notch. And Christopher Plummer was amazing in this role. I loved him citing Shakespeare as he's bombing the Enterprise and Excelsior. I thought that was just, I loved it, especially when Bones said, "I'd pay real money if he'd shut up."
That was Spock.
No, it was Bones that said it.
No, Spock said it.
No, it was Bones.
No, it was Spock.
No, they're putting the torpedo together.
They were putting the torpedo together.
It was Bones. It was Bones.
Bones that said it.
I'd pay real money if he just shut up. That was Boy, yeah.
He said, "Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war." While he's standing there in his chair, they flip back, and that's when Bones says, "I'd give real money if he'd shut up."
That was Spock that said that.
That was
wasn't
Bones.
No, that was Bones.
That was
Oh,
Bones.
y'all gonna make me watch that scene again.
But
I don't think Spock would be that crude.
Yeah, but no, I love that scene. I love listening to it. The one question I had, because when you were talking about Chancellor Gorkin getting on the ship, I thought every Klingon was amazingly dressed when they got on the ship. But Gorkin walked on that ship with the whalebone as his clutch. And I was like, where the hell did he get a whalebone from? So that they have whales on, any one of the Klingon planets? Is that what they're saying?
Kronos is mostly a water-based planet. They do have islands, so
So they have whales.
They have big fish down there.
So why didn't the probe that was
Wrong
sent out
movie.
in episode 4 go to that
They
planet?
don't have Terran whales. They
But it's
have
not a humpback whale.
Yeah, I
They
was
have
just looking at
Klingon
that
whales.
when I saw it yesterday. I was like, so they're saying that thing should have went there too to see if they were okay, instead of coming to
Or
Earth.
maybe they never lost contact with them.
I think the fish
Okay,
they have,
Maybe they didn't care because they were racist and they only wanted to talk to a specific type of rail. Yeah,
one of the fish there is called a Norg. They're very vicious.
So they were-
Wow. He did not just say that the
They
probe
were
was
racist.
the probe was racist. And it
Wasn't going
didn't
to
like the
Klingon
Klingon
space.
planet, so it only headed to the human
Yeah, okay.
populated planet.
That was my only gripe. I was like, oh, that's a huge whale bone he's got right there. Yeah, where did he get that from?
I thought it was a tusk. I didn't realize it was a whale until you told me.
Well, I mean, that was another thing, and so we get this interaction. Of course, peace is hard to come by, and Kirk said when they go to prison, and this is what I'm leading up to, Aurora Pente, the aliens' graveyard. Don't correct me, lonely captain. I am a fleet admiral.
You bumped me up a rank. Don't forget.
Yes, I did, but you're still below me.
But I'm an ambassador, so I have some leeway.
I give you a little. So we finally get to see this prison. And I fell in love with that dog that was on that planet. That thing with that, with the snout, with the big tooth. I was just like, I need one of those. I could not wait. And I was kind of hoping that something like that would come out that you could, especially get or whatever else. Of course, it came out in the role-playing sessions. But the fact that they could, they had that whole planet and everything was underground because nothing on the surface survived. What did you guys think of that whole thing? That whole planet being like it was? All right, historian.
Honestly, I loved it. It was a lot like the Siberian prisons, where it's so far and remote. If you even try to escape, you're dead. There's nothing, and it was so perfectly cruel, just like Klingons were towards criminals or the dregs of society. I really loved it. I love the aspect of it, and I think it actually influenced a lot of video games and stories from then on.
Brad.
Oh, I thought the planet was great. It set it up for a perfect Guffin to make it so that they had to work hard to get out of there. So yeah, he's wearing the patch on his back or on his shoulder, that Spock put there, and so he's got to get outside the shield to be beamed. But how'd they know that there was only a shield there?
Now, the funny part when you say that, because I never had noticed that, and I was like, you know what? When I went back to watch that, you actually see him placing it on the uniform. As he turns, it's on the uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, damn, I'm not that damn observant at all. It's not like in Star Trek 2 where he grabs it and the blood is here, and then the next scene, the blood is way up here. Where it's an obvious faux pas on somebody's part. They actually took the time to really make this great. Rob.
I loved it because it gave us one of our funniest and best scenes of all. That wasn't his kneecaps.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, yeah. Katala.
The Gulag Ruapinthe. They mine their dilithium there. It's a beautiful but cold planet, just like the mastiffs that guard it.
All right. Marky Mark and Commander Xena.
I can't remember what exactly Scotty said, but he's like, better kill them now than, something when realizing you're going to that planet. I always thought that was actually kind of funny. It's like, dang, Scotty. And then when Spock put that little, patch thing on Kirk's back, I thought about it last night when we watched it. Where was that on the bridge? I can see it being maybe, you're on your way maybe down to the transporters. There's maybe a shelf somewhere and you get it and you open it up and you put it up there before they go. But for that little patch thing to just be sitting there on the bridge in Spock's hand, I thought that was just a little weird for him just to, put it back there. And it just, why was it there? And before, I've watched it many, many times, never really thought of that until last night. I mean, I've always noticed him putting it back there because when, Kirk turns, you see it, when he's going towards, the turbolift. But why was it in Spock's hand? I thought that was just a little weird.
Yeah, I thought the planet, especially so that they just took one guy out there and left him up there so you can see, hey, if you escape, this is what's going to happen to you. I love that scene, just like I love the dog. And, like the fight scene where he kicked the guy in his knees and he was like, I'm glad he had kneecaps, but that wasn't his knees that he kicked. And you can see them flaring up. So that was awesome. And I absolutely loved the model, Iman.
Beautiful woman.
She is gorgeous. Main reason I will sit down and watch that movie just to look at her again. So I think it was a great planet. Their escape was way too simple, for them to get out of there. But other than that, most of it was just fantastic to see.
Yeah, that was one of the things too. Because remember now, she kisses Kirk. And Bones looked at him and goes, "What is it with you?" You know what I mean? That's classic, great Trek. And then, of course, we got the two mirror moments with Kirk hamming it up against himself. And mind you, he's definitely one of my favorite captains, if not the most favorite of my captains. But he's a ham. William Shatner is a ham. That whole scene that we were talking about where he's, I can't play, of course, a lot of it. There was a couple of scenes that I wanted to play, but you know how YouTube is when you do certain things like that. But I did key up this one, and if hopefully it'll go all right.
I'd give real money if he'd shut up.
Plate, please. Plate. And assimilation will consume.
We've got a heartbeat.
The Klingon Empire, the ecological.
Key, please.
Key. Where's that damn torpedo?
Shredded, Jim. Lock and load.
Fire.
And see that right there? That was a ham moment. I love the man to death. Fire. That, although we're all cheering in the theater, there was a ham moment. It's still one of those things because you like you said, you get Sulu coming in, and wasn't that Slater that tells him, he's
yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
And of course he's like, sir, the ship will fly apart. Well, fly her apart then, because he's trying to help his friends. And that was one of the things that I loved about this movie still. Like Vonda said, even though he had gone off to do his other thing, he was there to help his friends. You know what I mean? And that's one of those moments that you just don't have in a lot of the other, in the other series. Now, Strange New Worlds, they're still trying to be friends and learn about each other and get to that connection where we feel comfortable. By the time of Next Generation, we just all assume they're always going to help each other because that's the way they are. You know what I mean? But it took us a lot of years to get to that point. Picard wasn't, until the end of the series, he never sat down with the rest of his crew. You know? But here we have this whole thing. What do you guys think of the Klingons, sadly, conspiring to kill the Chancellor and bring back the good old days of war, even though most of their energy source has been depleted, and now they're trying to do what they're trying to do? They conspire with top Federation officers to bring about this war. Brad, your thoughts?
It seems a little far-fetched to me that, you know, you're running out of energy. Your planet's going to die in 50 years if you don't do something about it. Yet you want to stay at war with the Federation. They're the ones trying to help you. I guess they see it as their extinction if the Federation and the Klingons work together.
Yeah. Okay. Sai, your thoughts?
Honestly, it's kind of par for the course for the Klingons, in my opinion. They love their warrior culture and they love fighting the Federation. The Federation is always advancing, using different tactics. It's like something like a favorite opponent, and to lose that to peace is very much anathema to them, and a lot of them can't let it go. A lot of people can't let their old adversaries just go, and with the new Chancellor, he's trying to bring in a new type of culture, and a lot of Klingons see that as the death of their own, even though they're going to die anyways, but they just can't see past it. I think it's kind of a shame, but I think Worf touches upon that kind of culture dying in DS9 when there was that conversation between him and Ezri Dax.
Yeah, okay. Squadron leader?
Oh, we got it just in 3 when he said a Federation flag flying over our homes. And that's what they felt. If they took this handout, that's what was going to happen. And they knew they had no choice but to fight. And that they felt, well, we could beat them. We could take their land and have our flags flying over their homes. So why have peace?
Commander Xena, Marky Mark.
I 100% agree with Squadron Leader and Sai. Yeah, we might be dead in 50 Earth years, so to speak, but I can't let the Federation win. You know, yeah, we're going to go in and fight. That's the whole purpose of what Klingons embrace in their culture. You know, if I'm going to go down, I'm taking you with me. I'm not going to let you come and save me. Why would I do that? You know, so to me, it makes sense. I think it's something that they will do. And we've seen it in, you know, DS9 episodes, you know, where the Klingons just going to come in and, you know, maybe sacrifice a little village, so to speak, to get the fight. I think it's in their nature. It's going to happen.
I have to agree. I don't see them peace, like you said, in our time. That's not the way they are. It's definitely they were going to go out fighting. The idea, though, that they would conspire with the Federation to kill their own people, I feel that's kind of sad. I would hope, you know, they would have figured out a different way, but that is the only way that they can guarantee war. So that's exactly what they did.
You know what I think? I think you two are secretly wanting to be Klingon. I love your answers. I love the answers. I love them. All right, Admiral Katala.
In As It Were's address to the conference, she insisted that the treaty in no way diminish the stature of the Klingon Empire by saying, "We are a proud race, and we are here because we intend to go on being proud." So.
You're muted again.
I said a very poetic answer. Charming. Station. I like the way you think. I like the way all you guys said what you said, because it is true. It is better to fight and die in battle than to sit back and have them give us anything. A very proud race, going on to be proud, even into its own extinction. I thought that was I like that. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, if you look at the plot that they had set up, so they had Federation people set up to kill the Klingon Chancellor. So they have people from Enterprise beam over there, kill him. But when they do the Khitomer peace talks, they had Admiral West in a Klingon outfit getting ready to kill the Federation president.
And Admiral Cartwright, aka Benjamin Sisko's daddy.
Yeah.
Arrest that man. And then of course Spock comes out. Yeah, arrest yourself. I was like, damn, everybody getting caught.
I was gonna say, even the Klingon bird of prey fired on its own ship to disable, their gravity before the Federation went over and shot the people that they killed. So, yeah, it was all messed up.
Worst scene ever, Dave. Pepto-Bismol floating through the air.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you guys have blood like that, though.
But you guys have to admit, though, that, I mean, a bird of prey that could cloak while firing was like the most terrifying thing. Because when we played the game, that was one of the things that everybody hated when we played, because I would bring my cloaked ship in and get into a good firing range, get my target set, decloak and fire, and that was it. You don't know if they're coming. You know what I mean? If you're running around and now you got a ship that can fire when cloaked, oh my God, what a devastating, blow that would be. I did love the fact that when it fired, the silhouette would come out just for a little bit as the bolt came out, the torpedo. I thought that was one of the coolest things about it.
Yeah.
A shame when Sulu comes back in with that Excelsior, because you knew she had it.
Yeah.
Target that explosion and fire. I was like, oh, that's it. Because the Excelsior is the new top of the line. She's the new big boy on the block.
Yeah.
She got the job done. How did you see the Empire proceeding after that? Let's go with Sai.
Honestly, I was shocked. I was like, how did they? I was a little surprised that there was only one source of dilithium in the entire Empire. I think that was just what they were just used to. And they obviously had to either conquer more places to have more dilithium, or they honestly just they decided to figure out a new energy source. Is the only thing I can think of.
Well, I mean, as a warrior race, we're not just going to start. I mean, Chang had already sent out warriors to start looking for a new source to mine. Remember? I told you that. So, again, here's the Federation knocking on your door. So you're like, we're not going to do this. And then, again, the chancellor wants to go for this peace. We're not peaceful people. We don't. What is this peace?
Well, I'm definitely not
You know?
surprised that they didn't give up. Definitely not surprised about that, and that they came back. And it seems to me in like the TNG and DS9 eras, they were even more powerful.
Well, you know, look at Japan. Look at China. Well, let's look at Japan. We brought them to their knees, and now they do what? All the electronics and all that other stuff until China gets up, or like I guess China would be what? The Kardashians, or maybe the Jem'Hadar. I mean, we took China. I mean, we took Japan down, and next thing you know, all the electronics, anything that was great, was coming out of Japan. You know what I mean? It doesn't take much once a people get
to the Borg.
Well, that's a totally different thing right there. I mean, that's
that would
you know
be,
what I mean?
China would be the board because they love stealing people's products.
Yeah, they're just going to make it cheaper. It's not going to be as good, but it'll be cheaper.
They don't innovate; they just copy.
Yeah,
They're the Wish. Are you saying they're the Wish of the Star Trek world?
Or
Yes.
the Tibu.
Yes, they are.
Oh my God! But it's just amazing to me how all that came about. How all that really kind of pushed together to do what we got. So your thoughts, Brad, on where the Klingons go from here, from this point on?
Well, you still got Asset Boer in charge, so they've got to put up with her peace talks for a little while, and they can get back to being Klingons later.
Rob?
Well, we all saw throughout the original trilogy, the Klingons went everywhere and stole dilithium. They took and ransacked different planets and stuff. They wouldn't have stopped that. That wasn't their only source. They got sources from elsewhere by taking it by force.
Admiral Katala.
Well, Klingon philosophy is we succeed together in a greater whole, so we will get things done when we put our minds to it. And the Klingon Empire had a lot of planets that probably had resources that were shipped back to Kronos as needed. So Klingons will endure.
Endurance, you say? Okay. All right. Commander and Marky Mark?
You know, the Klingons, stealing other people's technology is the whole point of them trying to get the Genesis project. I don't think the Klingons thought about pretty much tomorrow. They was only thinking about today. So they knew, because they were a, warrior race, hey, once we find a civilization that have what we want, we're going to go out and see where we can get it. That was, the Genesis project, other movie. But I could see them thinking about the same thing. They have it. I'm going to try and get it from them. So, mining this here, mining this there, we're going to search for it. We're going to find it. We're going to decide we want it, and we're going to try to do our best to take it. That's what Klingons do.
Yeah, I probably say the same thing. I think at this point, they're on their knees until they can figure out where they're going to get it from next. I'm going to bring up Discovery, because for some reason, Discovery, the last season when they went into the future, there were no Klingons. And I'm wondering what happened at that point, since they just removed them from the whole continuity of that TV show. I know that they didn't have the source of the crystals, because the Enterprise was trying to figure it out. But I'm pretty sure they would have had their own source of what was that stuff? Was it?
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody else's ship blew up, but I think the Klingons would have survived. I don't know why they weren't in that show. Hopefully they'll bring them back in the next episode, the next season, so we can see what did happen to other other races out in Discovery. So I think they're survivors just like other races. So we'll see them again in the future.
Now you're not giving me very much hope for Discovery when you say the Klingons are completely gone from their timeline now.
Well, we don't know. You know, I mean,
That was
in
a
the
little
Discovery
disappointing.
world, they can't show every
Obviously, yeah.
other alien that we've seen in the past. You know, so I think they just, you know, saw how the Klingons went originally, and you know, the backslash where part of that is just because how they looked. You know what? Maybe we'll just leave them alone in the future for a while. Let people forget what, you know, the other 1 or 2 seasons.
Part of it, yeah.
And we're gonna go ahead and do this. You know, just because the Klingons is a major part of Star Trek, it doesn't mean it needs to be a major part of every series.
Okay.
And no Romulans either, though. So.
Oh my God! There's more than just 3 races.
No Kardashians. They had no other races but humans in that season. So I'm hoping we're gonna get something else. But they did bring a green girl in, you know, who was in charge, and no Kirk. So we didn't get that love team, but we did get the green girl. So I'm hoping we're gonna get some other species again.
Am I looking at you with disgust right now?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, we're getting our Section 31 movie, our TV movie, which is going to be, well, hopefully it'll be cool. You know, I have my reservations about a lot of things, but in the words of a great man, we're going to have to watch it if we're going to talk about it. And you can't just start with one and not go all the way through it. Thank you, Marky Mark.
It's so true, you know.
Look, I'm willing to go to season 4 of Discovery because it's going to end. I am not going to go back and rewatch that. When they said they were taking Pike out of it, I was like, I was watching for Pike, and now you're taking him out. Then he gets his own show, and he will be right here in Virginia Beach in May. So I'm looking very forward to seeing him there. Tidewater Comic-Con. At the end of this movie, we see Chang, you know, go off and in a blaze of glory as he stands up and watches Torpedo on the screen, to be or not to be, and then boom. Then Sulu comes in with his barrage, and the ship is destroyed. They thank Kirk for saving the galaxy once again. And you know, it's over. They said, you know, Kirk gives the final epilogue, and it's, you know, the name of the ship will be given to another crew, and da. And at that moment, I felt like we weren't going to be able to have that familiarity with another crew, and it took me a long time. I think it was like season 3 or 4 with Star Trek Next Generation before I really started getting into it. Unfortunately, it is when Gene Roddenberry passed that the writing started to look more of a new Star Trek than versus let me just redo some of these old episodes. As you guys recall, they wouldn't name certain characters. They would name the ship, but they wouldn't name certain characters or say certain things. They would say a particular Vulcan of renown or something like that. But over the course of everything that went on, we got to learn these people. We got to learn new Klingon stuff. They gave us the start for appreciation of Klingon culture. Because now we have this thing where we knew, well, no, we didn't. Up until that point, they were just, you know, basically angry communists. And finally, we get this other layer where they're this honorable people. Your thoughts on the ending? Did it end well with the sign off and everybody's name coming up, and what direction we were going into next, which would give us the Next Generation? Rob.
I was sad that we didn't see the story of the bee. I always thought they should have went on with that and gave us that story leading into the sea. But the way it ended, it seemed anticlimactic to me.
Brad.
Well, I don't know how many years has transpired since they got the new Enterprise, but it's a brand new ship. Why are you retiring it? But yeah, as far as the Peter Pan reference, second started the writing straight on till morning, and then all the stuff with their signatures and everything. I thought it was a good send off, and then you get Generations.
Sigh.
I thought it, like Brad said, I thought it was a great send off. It was a really good finale for everyone. I really loved the signatures. I mean, it just kind of brought everything at the end. And I forgot, not to quote Mark Hamill, and I know that's a different franchise, but it kind of felt like the last day of your senior year in high school. When you're not going to see everyone in the same way again. You're not going to be in the same positions. This is not just the next chapter in your life, but the next chapter in society and all. Everything changes after this, and that's how I felt, even as a kid.
Commander Xena, Marky Mark.
I thought it was a great send off. They didn't need to do anything else after that. It was bittersweet because it was getting up in age, but it was just a really great story. And watching it, again, I almost had a little tear in my eye. That this is it. That they're all going to be in together, and it was just humble with everything that I remember and watch over the years. And watching their signature, sometimes when you watch a movie, the movie's over, and you just get up and leave. And no matter how many times I've seen this, I sit there at least to the ending of all the signatures before I'll get up and change the station because I want to see that. And just the way, DeForest Kelley write his D's and the W and, I look at that. I mean, I really felt that and looked at that, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I actually love the signature part. The only thing that I would have liked to have seen, and I like the ending scene where they just saved the president and they're all standing there together and you get that picture of all of them. I love that scene more than anything because it's the last time they were all together as a crew right there, and then you get that signature, and I thought that was beautiful. So I think it was a fitting send-off. I wish that Generations had been its own story without Kirk, without Chekhov. It could have been whatever it was without them being in it. But other than that, I think it was a fitting end to that because, this is like Sai said, they just graduated high school. They're going their separate ways, and you never got that camaraderie again that you got from that. What is it? At that point, it would have been 20 years that they had been working together for Star Trek. So that part was sad, bittersweet to see.
Yeah, definitely. Katala. Wait a minute.
What messed up Generations? They couldn't get Nimoy and DeForest Kelley to do it. That's why Chekhov had to play doctor.
Yeah, that was he said they didn't even change his his lines. They just said, you and you, let's go to we're going to medical. And I'm like, yeah. At first I didn't think about it till they said DeForest Kelley wasn't going to do it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's why he had those weird lines.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know neither one of them wanted to do it.
Well, DeForest Kelley was he was in too bad a health to do it.
Yeah.
and Leonard Nimoy decided against it.
All right. Okay, Admiral.
It was a good send-off for a group of warriors, whether they are in the movie or in real life. That was probably the last time they were actually able to hang around together and enjoy the legend they created.
I agree with you all. It was one of those movies that I definitely, like I said, within my two, it's always going to be Wrath of Khan, and then this one. I have to admit, 4 is my number 3. I hate to admit it.
What's up with that? The whales, huh?
No, it was Spock with the whales, and Kirk and Double Dumbass, and it was that whole thing, and nuclear vessels. That just killed me. Running around talking, a Russian in the 80s.
With the whalers when the fire hits the.
Oh God! Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that was, and the fun part was that was 87. The Cold War wasn't over yet.
Yeah.
True, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know? Go ahead.
I was going to say the Berlin Wall was down at that point.
No,
I think
that came down in 89.
Oh, it did. Okay, I can't remember what year it came down.
I still say, all right, everybody remember where we parked.
Yeah.
I still say it every time that especially in a crowded thing. I'm like, all right, everybody remember where we parked. Let's go. I still say that. I mean, I hate to admit it because but it's my number 3. It's my number 3. But guys, we've had a blast. We've done the TOS movies. I believe since we started this, we're gonna have to do the TNG movies because Marky Mark says once we start something, we can't end it. But we're going to come back the week of for United. We're going to come back the week of the 24th. We're going to take next weekend off because, Valentine's Day, people may have plans for that weekend. And just to give everybody kind of a little break and to catch up on what we're doing. So we will be back. Me without the forehead. Oh, bro.
That is awesome.
That's nice, Brad.
I like that.
Picked it up at Walgreens today.
Okay.
Oh shit! I might have to get down there. On the 24th, we will be back with starting with Generations. As a Star Trek fan, I'm ashamed to admit it. I had everything on VHS and then DVD, but I didn't have them on Blu-ray. So then I went back and bought them all on Blu-ray about 4 years ago. And when we were at Fantasy, I was lucky enough to get this. Now, I don't know if all this is. Oh yeah, damn. Okay. It came with some pins that are still in the thing.
Wow.
Yeah, the picture that's on the box used to be the VHS covers. If you put them all together, made that picture.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the VHS box set, but not like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Came in a whole little case. I keep it right up here with all the Star Wars stuff, so no one questions my Trekness. But I wanna thank you all for joining me. I want to thank you all for indulging me as I embrace the forehead, even though it's not the forehead that my esteemed colleague would like me to have. What's that? What? But I like the hair. I like the hair. So we'll be back on the 24th as we go with Generations. Marky Mark, are you taking Generations since you hate it so much? I must bring you pain, Marky Mark.
I can take that one. Yeah, I'll watch it and I'll come up with something. It's hard though, because that would be just like talking about episode 8 of Star Wars. So
Well, I mean, I know what you like. I mean, I'm not fond of Insurrection.
oh, okay.
So I'm going to take
Insurrection.
I'm going to take Insurrection, and we'll give one of the better films to somebody else. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
I'll take Insurrection because I did
love
not
Your
like
Generation.
Insurrection. I thought that was the weakest. Well, that's not true. Nemesis is definitely the weakest of the films.
I hate
Rob,
Nemesis.
right?
You hate Nemesis?
No, I think we should. Yeah, I thought. Oh God, you know what? I'll take Nemesis. I'll take the last one because that. Oof, God, to find good stuff in that one is going to be hard.
I'll take.
I want to
First
know
Contact.
why they didn't use the boy that they used to play Picard when he got stabbed as his clone.
Yeah, I know. What'd you say, Simon? You said-
I'll take First Contact. That's the most difficult one, right?
Oh yeah. You want the good one. But we'll be back on the 24th, guys. Enjoy your Valentine's Day as we sign off. I can take my forehead off and breathe. But again, thank everyone for joining us. To steal from Jedi Joe, live long and prosper, and most definitely, Kapla.